my. What a peculiar place to have a party.
Welcome to the rabbit hole. We're going over Skype right now from across the country.
Yes.
How's it going, Madfish?
Well, it's going well. It's going well. Just started school down here and playing a little bit of soccer. How are you doing, Joker? How's the East Coast?
The East Coast is all right. It's still kind of muggy, but just kind of getting into the groove of things, which I don't know if I like that too much. Sometimes routine can be kind of restricting. But let's hear your story.
All right. Well, the story actually has to do with coincidence, and this is quite a good coincidence in my opinion. So, about I don't know 6 or 7 months ago, my roommate lost our snake, and by lost our snake I mean we had a python and in a cage, and it escaped. And
that's not dangerous?
I mean, not this particular type of python. It was about 2 feet long. I mean, it's dangerous to rats and possibly cats, but it won't kill anyone. But anyways, it escaped. And it wasn't the first time it escaped. But the other times we found it within the next few days. It turned up in random places in our house. However, this python this time was gone for about 7 months. And I think it was 3 days ago when my roommate came home, and his brother, who was staying with us at the time, jokingly said, "Oh, how's Amanda doing?" Amanda's the name of the snake we have. Kind of as a joke, because he knew it was gone, and it's been gone for 7 months. And Adam's like, ha ha ha. And goes out, and as he's going out to take out the trash, some guy stops him and is like, "Do you want a snake?" And my roommate's like, "What do you mean? Do I want a snake?" And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, your neighbor over there, she found a python that was in her toilet, And so I was just wondering. I was going to take it out and see if you wanted it, you can have it. It's I have it right here." And so my roommate's like, let me just ask my roommate really quick because he might want it. And so he calls me up and he's like, dude, we found Amanda. She came back, and it turns out that it was indeed our snake that we'd lost 7 months ago, who had been living in the sewers feeding off of rats.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and is now 3.5 feet long.
Wow!
But the
wait, that thing can't bite off your hand?
I mean, now it might be able to, but no, it probably can't bite.
What do you feed? What do you feed it?
Feed it dead mice.
Oh, where do you get dead mice?
At the pet store, usually. Oh. So, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Alright, we're back. Technical difficulties. But let's get back into Madfish's story. So, what did you want to ask me about this story or talk about?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, is this story, is it just a random coincidence that this snake makes its way back to our house and our life every single time? Or is it some sort of connection we have with it? Because, I mean, the odds that if my roommate hadn't gone out to take the trash at that exact same moment, at that exact time and that exact day, we would have never gotten the snake back because this guy would have just taken it somewhere.
Yeah. Wait, so he went out and there was just some random dude. Does he live on the property?
Yeah, there's just some random dude who was called because this lady found a python in her toilet, and so he took it out for her.
How do you think the python got there?
Well, I think it was in a cage in our room, and we'd built the cage ourselves, so it had a little bit of a few flaws in it, and it pushed it open, and then I think it crawled into the sewer system somehow, and lived in the sewers and fed off of rats and other sewer things until it decided to come back up through that lady's toilet one day. And so that's...
What? It went up through the toilet?
Well, I mean, that's the only logical thing I can think of.
Well, or it was outside the toilet and went inside the toilet.
Yeah, or that. But basically, it was living inside the walls of our apartment complex for the past 7 months.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, I see that, but I feel like it would be too much water pressure and stuff for a snake to get through the pipes into the toilet.
Yeah, it could be, but honestly, that snake has not stopped surprising us in the things it's been able to do. And it looks extremely healthy and well-fed, so it found an abundant source of food wherever it was.
That's crazy, because I feel like most domesticated animals, if you left them on their own, they wouldn't be able to survive, but that thing just figured out a way.
Yeah, it did. And so that brings me back to the point of, like, do we have some sort of divine connection to the snake that it keeps on coming back because of these random events? And my roommate kind of brought up the notion that it's kind of like my ex-girlfriend that keeps on popping up after 6-month intervals, taking 180-degree turns.
Yeah.
And so there's actually some sort of weird correlation between those two.
I don't know about that, but it's the same kind of. I don't know, dude. I feel like, I don't know, if you had found it in another state or something, and you could tell that was your snake, then that would be different. But I mean, it sounds like it was just living there. It is crazy that on the day it was going to be taken away, that your friend was out collecting the trash. Like, that stuff's pretty crazy. But I don't know. Do you guys? What do you do with the snake? Like, where would your connection come from? Like, do you guys like play with it, or do you just like watch it in the cage?
I don't know. We play with it and stuff, but it's just like a pet. We take it out, we let it slither around, and we feed it, and I mean, it's a pretty cool thing.
Why does it run away?
Because it's a snake, and I feel like snake have no sense of loyalty to their masters, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, that might be true. So when you let it play, does it try and run away? Like, how do you even catch it? How would you catch it?
Well, it's not a very fast snake. It's a python, so it moves at like very, very slow crawling pace. And I mean, actually, another time we had it. It was last year. It was right before my mother was supposed to come and visit, and we were playing with it, and we kind of lost track of time, and after a while we couldn't find it anymore, and it showed up like 4 days later in the closet. So it's it escapes, but it usually comes back. But we were both convinced that it was going to be dead after 7 months of just being gone. And the fact that it actually managed to work its way back to us in some sort of way kind of illustrates a bit of a connection, in my opinion, as opposed to just a pure coincidence.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I can't believe I would be so scared of a snake.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's stories of the guys, like, I don't know a few months ago, there was that bigger snake that got out in some apartment in Canada, and it ate and constricted 2 children.
Oh my
after
God.
It got out of its cage.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What? It was it legally in the house or no?
Yeah, well, there was a pet store underneath this apartment complex, and one night the snake got out of its cage, and it killed 2 children in their sleep.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Did it? Wow. That's fucked up.
Yeah, because these are the type of snakes that like go and constrict people.
Oh my God.
And so now, my roommate and I are kind of wanting to get rid of the snake, but we don't really know how to do it. We're thinking of possibly just like driving it down to Mexico or something and letting it free there.
I mean, that would be
All
cool,
right.
but it sounds like it was doing pretty well on its own anyway. You could probably just let it out the door and it'd go do its thing.
Yeah, and we'd probably find it in that lady's toilet again. Or someone else's toilet. Or it would eat some poor guy's cat. And the thing is, we have 2 cats at our house right now, too.
Oh, wow.
So that those probably wouldn't get along very well.
No, probably not.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, shifting to another slightly different rabbit hole. How's the meditation been affecting your soccer playing abilities?
Dude, I think that's another thing that I think has helped a lot. I've been doing 25 minutes before games, and I do it during the day too. Whenever when it's not a game, but I think it helps a lot. I think it helps. Just like calming your mind. I don't know, because I don't know, the two goals I've scored, they've both been ones where the ball's been rolling for a substantial amount of time towards me, and I haven't really freaked out or anything. I've just kind of like been calm. I don't know. It's been and it's weird. I don't know. It's just and then you come out too before a game too. You're nervous and stuff, and then it kind of calms your mind and has you focused, and you're not aloof and you're not nervous. You're just focused.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and I saw the nature of your goals too, and the goals themselves were really nice, but it almost seemed like they came off of some sort of rebounds on the defense.
Yeah.
So
both of them did.
So it's almost like you were in the right place at the right time for them. So I wonder if the meditation has kind of improved your intuition of where the ball is going to end up too, like positioning wise.
And generally I feel calmer on the ball too. I don't know. I don't know if that's just because we trained a lot this summer or because it's the meditation, but I think the meditation has helped me a lot. Just generally, like if I have homework to do, I'll sit down and I'll start reading, and I won't. You know those times when you sit down to read something and you don't read a thing, but your eyes go across, but it just doesn't soak in at all. It was like that, so I would do that, and then I'd meditate for 10 minutes, only 10 minutes. Like I can't imagine if I did it for longer, and how much more productive I would be. But I was just like, then I'm just in it, and I can finish my reading and be focused, which is a great feeling to have. It's one thing to force yourself to cut out all the distractions, but it's a whole other thing to naturally feel against all the distractions that are around you, like your computer or your phone or whatever it is. So it's nice to like genuinely, organically want to cut that stuff out.
Yeah, I understand that, because I think it shows almost a greater level of not maturity, but just kind of conquering of your surrounding. If you can maintain focus despite there being distractions around you, like instead of having to lock yourself in a dark room with no internet and anything, if you can still have internet but just choose to ignore it or choose to focus on what you're doing, that shows a much greater potential.
Yeah, or if it's just in your nature or not in your nature, because I feel like what you're predisposed to in the moment is always changing. But if you're just predisposed to not be around those things, it's really nice. But I think, I don't know, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of merit in forcing yourself away from certain things. And I think some people think that they can't be away from certain things. And if you just force yourself away from them, you would see how much better your life is without them. Maybe not, but at least you tried it out.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of applicable in my life or something. I have something that is almost like inadvertently stalking me. Just to give a quick update to our listeners, whoever they may be. My former girlfriend, out of sheer coincidence, is in 3 out of my 4 classes this semester. And that's because she dropped out of the 4th one she was in, so we would have been in 4 out of 4 classes together. And that brings us back to the point of like coincidence versus not coincidence. I mean, I go to a fairly like it's not a huge school, but it's a sizable school. Like, she's one of the only people I actually know well in my classes. And the fact that now, after we've gone through all of this, and I was actually really starting to get over her presence, she would just prominently jump back inside my life and force me to just overcome it somehow.
Dude, I feel like, see that, okay, now we're talking about coincidence, or, I mean, maybe you have, like, the energetic connection with her, just, like, kind of left over from before.
Mm-hmm.
I think, oh, hold on, fuck, someone's at my door. Oh, fuck it, I don't care. I think, that kind of thing, that's not, that there's no way that's a coincidence. I'm sorry. I just feel like that, I don't know how she did it, but she did something, because there's no way 4 out of 4 classes, especially when you're older too, when, like, freshmen generally take the same classes. But when you're older, dude, you're taking very specialized classes, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And
well,
how does that even happen? You're at 4 out of 4 in the very beginning? That's ridiculous.
Well, this is the logical explanation of how it happened, but it's still outrageous. Like, in order to play soccer, I actually had to change my major, and this is just to play soccer I had to change it from marine biology to architecture.
What?
And this is
Why?
This is just because it was based on the number of units I had from when I transferred and when I broke my leg. Like, things got all screwed up, and I'd coincidentally taken a few architecture classes because that was my minor. And now, however, I was forced to make this decision, so I had to switch my major and minor. So now I'm now majoring in architecture and minoring in marine biology. And so if it wasn't for this turn of events and the fact that I literally switched all of my classes about a week and a half ago, I wouldn't be in any of the classes together with her.
Oh, okay.
So it was like there was absolutely no way, like, it was premeditated by anyone. It's just like a fruit of absolute coincidence, but at the same time, I don't think it's just like complete coincidence, because that's just absurd. If you see where I'm going.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if it's not a coincidence, what is it? You know? I don't know. I didn't have I only had the premeditation before, but it's not coincidence, and it's not premeditation, then what else would it be?
Well, I have no idea, because, I mean, it wouldn't be premeditation, A, because she now has a boyfriend, and she probably wouldn't want to take classes with me, I imagine, and B, because I definitely didn't want to take any classes with her. And coincidence, I mean, the fact that all of this would happen and we would sign up for the same classes, because even within the architecture major, there's like multiple classes you can take. These aren't really the only ones offered. It's just like, wow, like some sort of energy, God or spirit or something. Right now?
Welcome back. We're sorry. One more time, technical difficulties. But we're going to get back into it. This is related to Matt Fish's architecture classes, but I've been thinking a lot recently about the way a room can influence people and how they interact within it, especially after reading Steve Jobs' biography, and he talks about the way design influences how you use a computer, and that things should be intuitive, all these different things. And so I've been trying to like get my room to be a place that I feel really comfortable in, and that when I step inside of it, it makes me feel like not just at home, because there are things that are there for me, but just the way it's designed and the way I move through it, which is hard because my room is tiny. But I was wondering what you think about this, and I actually have a really good example that it's not an actual room that people would stay in or eat in or anything, but I was at the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh, and they have this room called the Cloud Room or the Pillow Room, and there are these inflated pillows with helium. I think it's helium, and they're metallic, and they put a bunch of these things. They're like oversized pillows almost, and they put them in this room, and they have a bunch of fans, and the fans blow them all around the room, and so they're twirling and stuff, and there are about 15 to 20 of them, and you walk into the room, and immediately, like, I didn't even say anything. I just started moving with the pillows and trying not to trying to move through them smoothly, but without touching them. And it's this really, really nice place, and it's like clear that the room was acting on me and influencing how I operated. So I don't know if you have any comment on that or if you learn about that in class, but it was cool.
No, definitely. I have both in-class commentary on that as well as personal commentary. I'll start with the personal one, is that I absolutely, like, for me, a room completely influenced my ability to focus. For example, if a room is messy or is in order, or I don't really like its feel and its lighting, I just get distracted much more easily, and I don't feel as ease in it as I would if it was the way I liked it. And this has kind of been the point of architecture throughout history. Now relating it through more to like my studies and so forth. Just today in class, we were learning how the architecture is influenced by kind of the human vision of heaven, of a place that's really serene. So in Islamic architecture, there is both the belief that a square and a triangle put together to make a pentagon, that signifies heaven. So you see these reoccurring geometric shapes that are meant to signify heaven, and for some reason, you, like, once you actually go inside them and live within these geometric figures, you feel more at ease. And furthermore, water, kind of flowing water, is also a really big part of architecture that's supposed to recreate the natural world, and that's why you see it. This is not only in Islamic architecture, but it's also in just about every single other type of architecture in the world, that water is incorporated to try and get you back to the natural feel of things. And so now relating it to a more energy perspective things, I just recently was flipping through this book at Dr. Bob's office a few months ago, and it had to do with certain energetic shapes and room design. So there are these architects that design rooms based on these shapes that are supposed to channel in energy, and it makes rooms
like what?
more.
Like, give me an example.
Like, for example, a spiral. Just designing a room in a spiral, or a circle with a dot in the middle, that helps channel some sort of energy in it, in terms of just bioenergetics.
Wait, a room in a spiral? Are you talking about spiral staircases, or how does it
just the shape of a spiral? If you can incorporate that in the architecture, whether it's recreated in the pattern of the tile or the actual shape of the building, can help, like, influence the energy inside the room. Okay. So, like, they're just doing studies in this book about how the different shapes of, just like physical shapes of rooms, actually have an influence on the way people feel inside of them. Because as an architect, one of the main scopes of your job is to like plan out the way people interact with your environment and the way people are affected by it. Because that's really the main point of architecture. So it's really cool to see how these geometric figures and certain shapes are actually used to channel in good energy, or like calming energy, or exciting energy.
It's funny to think about when people go through buildings and how they're. Because I was actually sitting in my classroom the other day, and the classroom is kind of bland. I don't know, most classrooms are like that. You know, you have a chalkboard up front and some chairs and stuff, whatever. You get chairs, whatever, and they don't, like, the chair was super uncomfortable. I'm thinking, no one put any thought into which chair you would have, because I look around the room and everyone's slouching and everyone's fidgeting around, and it's just like, you should put some kind of thought into the chair, into, like, not just having just a whiteboard up front, but to go in another direction. It's just interesting that you think about how people are thinking about you operating. You're just another person that's just operating within their room. You know, you're like, like certain inputs will give you certain outputs, and they think of you more as like a formula than as just a person with feelings, you know. You think that you like make some kind of conscious decision as to how you're going to operate through something when really like they have a direct choice in how or they have a direct influence on how you're moving through a room, but you don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. Like it's. I mean, calling it mind control is a little extreme, but just the way buildings are designed, it's like supposed to inadvertently channel you to certain areas of it, like hallways, for example. And it's really interesting to study the different patterns of movement that people have through buildings.
Yeah. So, do you study psychology?
Actually, I don't study psych. I took a psych class, but you're actually not required to take psychology for architecture. But I think it would actually be very, very like a useful thing to know, because I mean it is the study of how people interact with buildings that is of prime importance to any architect. And I think that's partly what makes like a good architect a really good architect, if he can accurately predict how people are going to be able to use his building.
Yeah.
And plan accordingly. Because, I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves are, like, so many times you see all of these, like, in a garden or something, these nice paths that, like, an architect has developed for people to go, yet it's so inefficient that people just cut across straight through the grass. And it's like, if they cut across through the grass, then you should have put a path there, because you should have foreseen that people were going to choose that way of going through instead of the other one.
I think most people follow the path, though. This is kind of a weird story, but I don't know why I remember. So, I don't know. I guess there's a couple things. So, I don't know why I remember the story. There are some things you just remember and you're not really sure why they stick in your mind. But, well, when I was in high school, one of my friends told a story in class about how he was with some of his friends. And it was clear when you're listening to the story that he was high while this was ongoing. But he told the story anyway. He didn't say he was high, but everyone knew he was. And they were sitting, they were walking through a parking lot, I think. And it had one of those weird paths where, like, it diverged and then went around, like, kind of almost like like one of those circles that I don't know, what would you call that? It, like, basically just, like, went around and then met up at the end in the same point on the opposite side, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, exactly.
But in the middle there were all these trees. And my friend was walking and he said that he realized that there had been, like, paths set out for him, but that he didn't necessarily need to take them. And he said that, like, you could just walk through the trees, but most people don't think to do that. And this is another really small example, but I was just walking out of I went to a Philadelphia Union game, and you can walk, like, I think it'd be interesting to check out crowd flow in stadiums and stuff like that. But anyway, so where everyone's flowing out of the stadium, and they're all walking along this path, and there's, like, this mulch area that has some trees in it, but not really. And I was like, I'm just going to walk across this, because then I don't have to walk, like, through the bottleneck or whatever. And then people started getting mad at me. I was like, it's not that big of a deal that I'm walking through this thing, but people still got mad. And also, this is just another thing. This is kind of a tangent, but do you think it's disrespectful I mean, I guess you're Italian, so, but I didn't stand up for the national anthem. Like, I just sat there. I didn't really want to stand up, and everyone just got really, really pissed.
Who's when you say everyone, who's everyone? Like,
my friends, like, kids on my team. Everyone got really mad at me, and I was just like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's just the national anthem. One, I've heard it a million times before. I know it's not the point. But then two, I was sitting there, and I was like, why can't I just sit here? Like, they were just hoping that, like, the peer pressure would get me to do it. And I was like, no. And I told them, I said, the more that you try and get me to do it, the more I'm not going to do it. So I didn't do it. But still, I don't know, it's just weird to...
Mm-hmm. And when you were, just to clarify, when you were walking through the stadium or avoiding the crowd on the wooded grassy areas, who was telling you not to?
Oh, it wasn't random people, it was my friends. They're like, geez, what the hell, man? I was like... So
in all the cases, your friends were kind of like...
They weren't really angry at me, but they were still just like, I don't know.
They're like, God damn it, Joker.
Yeah, no, I don't know. And they still just, like, gave me grief for it. I'm not trying to sound like a victim or anything, because it really wasn't a big deal, and I was like, alright, whatever, I don't care. But still, it's funny. I was thinking about how often people try and get you to stay in line with things, you know. And I guess they wouldn't say, they'd say it's like for the sake of that thing, but people are trying to get you to like do what everyone else is doing, and I was trying to think like, do I ever do that to people? It's like, do I ever like get mad at them because they're not, for the sole reason that they're not doing what they're supposed to do, not because I don't like. There are things that everybody does that I think are good things, and so like you would say like do it on the merit of the thing itself, not just because like everyone does it. But like sometimes it's just like, I don't know. I guess they would say that they want me to respect my country by standing for the national anthem, but still, sometimes it just feels like people are just saying it because that's what everyone does, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think America has almost a bit of an insecurity with its kind of nationalism, just because it's a mixing pot of all these different cultures. So I feel like they need to really put emphasis on trying to be united under one thing, because I mean, Italy, if you don't stand up and sing the national anthem, I mean, it's super chill. Like it's just kind of fun to sing it at soccer games, really. Mm-hmm. That's the only time it's used. But in America, even like when you don't say the Pledge of Allegiance in elementary school or something, people are just like, oh, dude, like, what are you doing? And even recently, I'm actually applying to become an American citizen right now. And other than the fact that in the immigration office I had to go to, not only was every single person there Mexican, but even the security guards and the like people working at the office probably spoke better Spanish than English. They ask you some really fucked up questions. Like, one of the questions of the test I hear is, so I'm Italian, so they would ask it this way. They're like, all right, so say Italy and the United States were to get into a war. Which side would you swear your loyalty to? And if you don't answer the United States, then they don't give you citizenship.
We could just say it and not mean it.
No, exactly, but this goes back to like the national anthem. I mean, every single time you stand up and sit and like say it or pay respect to it, do you actually mean it, or do you just kind of do it to go through the motions?
I think usually you do. Sorry, going back to what I just said, I said you could say it but not mean it, and it's weird. Sometimes I find myself like, I think more so than most people I know, I can't stand doing that. I can't stand saying something but not meaning it, you know? So, like I would say in that situation, like people would say like the pros outweigh the cons. Like, you say it and you get your citizenship. You don't say it, you don't get your citizenship. It's practical to say it. It doesn't really matter, right? But I don't know. There's something so sacred about your word and not lying and stuff, but then other times it's just so much easier to lie, you know?
Exactly.
It's hard to get through that, dude.
Because, I mean, obviously, if I actually were to answer that question, and hopefully the U.S. government isn't spying on this particular Skype conversation, I would be like, well, you know, it depends on the circumstance. I can't just give an arbitrary answer that would blindly follow this country no matter its decision.
Yeah, like, you should have asked, well, it depends, why are we going in there? Or, like, why are we fighting?
Exactly. It's like, I might just say that on the citizenship test, but then I feel like I would just be being ridiculous, and I'd have spent so many stupid meetings for nothing. Yeah, it's true. It's like when do you just, like, conform and give up your principle briefly just to save yourself a shit ton of time and effort, when in the end it doesn't even really matter. I don't know.
I'm kind of of the mind... Yeah, I know. I'm kind of in the mindset that you never give an inch, but I think that'd be stupid, too, to be that dogmatic without looking at it, each case individually. But for the most part, I think you have to go a pretty long ways for me to... I mean, I assure you I lie every day, but for things like that, I don't know, you'd have to push me a long way. I don't even know if I'd be able to. I'm a terrible liar. Most of the time, I find it so hard to not say,
the truth.
Yeah, but it's not that I just like go out openly and say whatever. Like, if I'm sitting in a conversation with people and I hate the conversation that's going on, I won't tell everyone. I just wouldn't say anything. Maybe I say something later or something, but like I don't know. I'm gonna say that, and people would be like, I'm sure later if someone heard this, they would try and be like, "Oh, you lie," or "You like you said you always stick by your word." It's like, oh, I don't know. It's just it depends on the situation, I guess. I am someone we like to think that we're always moral, but sometimes it has to do with our circumstances. So.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. But just to give an example in your relentless trust of your own words, what would you answer given that question if your citizenship was on the line?
I would say the U.S. I would like that. To me, like if I was you,
mm-hmm.
There's so many benefits in lifestyle if you just answer that question differently.
Yeah.
You know?
But what if you were you? Not if I was you. Just if you personally had to go up there, and now you were a citizen. Well, say you were a citizen of another country.
Yeah. And
they asked you that question, and to become an American citizen, you had to answer it.
Yeah. No, I would. I mean, I hate questions like that because, as we discussed, it's black and white, and then I don't know what situation, why we're going into this place, or why they're fighting us. But if that was obviously, if you're going through the citizenship process, that's a big lifestyle decision, and you've already decided on it, so it's something you would want. So I'd do it.
All right, so that's the line you're willing to cross your moral stance.
No, I'm not. I don't want to make any lines anywhere because I'm sure I'd just break them or cross them, But I would take it on a case by case basis. I think that's the most important thing. I was talking the other day. I was having lunch with my dad and it's one of his college friends and his college friend's wife, and we were talking about Syria.
Yeah.
We were talking about whether or not to go in there and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, we always get entangled and end up in all these bad situations like Iraq and." Oh, this, I'm like, I'm thinking, well, Iraq's not Iraq. Iraq isn't Syria. Syria isn't Iraq. And if you look through history, the idea that because of a past failure, we shouldn't go into a new place, to say that's the right reasoning, that's not true. Because with Rwanda, we went into Somalia before that. I don't know how long before that, but it was definitely in the public memory, and we. If anyone's seen the movie Black Hawk Down, that's Somalia. That's when we went into Mogadishu, and we had our own guys getting dragged through the streets, all that shit. And everyone's like, "All right, we're never going in anywhere ever again." Right? Or that's not really what we said, but you know what I mean. And everyone was just scared shitless to go in anywhere. And then 1 million people get massacred in about 10 days or whatever it was.
Yeah. When someone could have probably done something about that.
Yeah. And so it's the same thing. It's you can't just be like, "Oh, well, we can't go into Syria because it's not." I'm not saying we should go into Syria. I'm just saying you got to take it case by case, and you should learn from the previous situation. Oh, this feels kind of like it, but don't automatically blanket it with the fact that things have fucked up before and recently. You don't need to do that. So and that's the same thing as just because you lie once and it works out doesn't mean you lie again. You got to take calculated looks at everything, and the more experience you get will help you, but nothing will ever prepare you for exactly the case that you're going to come across.
Yeah. And speaking, another interesting point on this is that speaking of Syria and Iraq, I believe that when we invaded Iraq, the majority of the public was largely favorable to it because it was almost claimed to be in self-defense, as Iraq had nuclear weapons and they were going to be able to destroy us. And yet now, if I just read a recent poll that over 80% of Americans are actually against us having military action on Syria. And do you think that's because Americans are egocentric and it's actually not threatening them, so they're like, why should we bother doing this? Or is this just because of the previous mistake of Iraq, quote unquote?
Well, first of all, let me say that 80% of people, the people who are involved in the poll, what the knowledge that they know is from the evening news. They generally, or maybe they read something in the newspaper, And who knows if that's fucking true? There are probably a small amount of people, and I'm not one of them, who know kind of what's going on and could speak intelligently about these things. So I do so because of that, because most people have a lack of knowledge, they're hesitant to go in. And I mean, no one wants to go to war. War is not a good. I mean, some people, citizens don't want to go to war. War, is good for business in a sense, but the general
the last resort.
Yeah, no one wants to go, but no one wants to go in, and so I think anyone's gut reaction would be to not do it. They see it as something outside themselves, and so outside our country, and something that we shouldn't get entangled in. But I don't know. I seriously don't know anything about it, so I couldn't really comment. But for the most part, I think it comes from just if you don't like Obama, you don't want to do anything he says or anything like that. I don't know. So it really depends. I mean, I generally don't think people know anything, but it's more about finding the things that you want to believe in and then believing those things.
Yeah. Well, I'll be more informed after tonight, as I'm going to go attend a seminar on the situation in Syria that's being hosted at my school. So
that's pretty cool.
Hopefully that will shed some light on the issue.
Yeah, man.
Anyways, shifting rabbit holes a little bit. Have you found yourself taking any new rabbit holes while over on the East Coast that you wouldn't have maybe taken?
The most recent one is the one that pops to the front of my mind. It's hard to get out and to do things with the season and stuff, but
yeah.
I've been thinking about buying a record player for a long time, and I've just never really done it because I don't know much about it, and I don't know. So, and it's expensive, kind of. So I was walking around Philadelphia before preseason started, and I walk into this record store, and it was just this random place. And I walk in, and I just approached the lady at the counter. I was like, "What record player should I buy?" And that's cheap and it's good. She gave me 3 brands. So I went home and I looked them up, and I didn't buy any of them. But I knew which ones I would want to get. But I still was I don't want to take the risk or whatever of spending money and all this stuff. I don't know. I just didn't do it. I was kind of inactive. And then one night I was just lying in bed. I was hanging out with my girlfriend, and then I was just fuck it, I'm buying it. I went online, and I didn't even let myself think twice about it. I found the one that I liked, and I bought it. And I just was all right, whatever. I did it. And then it, I kind of forgot about it, and then it came a couple days later, and I just got some records from a thrift store. They're kind of broken, but some of them are kind of messed up. I have some clean Beethoven, though, which is good. But it's just, I don't know, it was cool. I just decided to do it, and then it was done, and I just decided I'm always going to find an excuse not to do it, and always find it's not the right time to do it, so I just did it, and now I have a record player sitting on my room, and it's pretty cool. I like it a lot.
Alright, well now that you've done that, this brings up something that I've recently considered doing with a friend of mine, and I'm going to need your professional opinion on it to see if this is a rabbit hole or if it's a manly impulse. So we were looking on Craigslist, and we see that this guy has a speedboat that he's selling for $175. And he's selling this speedboat on top of a trailer. It's really dirty, but he claims that it works. But basically the story is that the house just got foreclosed, and the speedboat was on the property, and he and his wife just want to get rid of it, and they don't want to pay anyone to do it, so they're just selling it on Craigslist for $175. And so we were tempted to just go in and each spend $60 and have a speedboat.
So you and 2 other friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's I mean, is there a lake around you to go? Because you wouldn't put it in the ocean, would you?
We're in San Diego, so we just put it in the ocean. We got the bays out here, Mission Bay and San Diego Bay, and we were thinking of just parking it on the street somewhere, and having a boat.
You'd have to clean it though, right?
Yeah, it's full of leaves and stuff.
But the problem is that you don't know if the engine works. Can't you test it out?
we could go over there and test it out. It's like a 45-minute drive to get there. And we'd have to probably buy a trailer hitch for one of our cars. And he says the thing that's encouraging is that the tabs are from last year, which means that last year it was working because it was registered. So it's just basically been sitting outside for a year. Which is the only possible drawback.
I mean, I feel like so you would have to buy a hitch. You would have to buy a hitch before.
Yeah, like we could probably go there and check it out.
Yeah, I would do that.
And then see whether I might do that.
You can always just go check. I would go check it out, and you could probably tell from the guy. You know, most like if you were around him long enough, you know whether or not he was lying. And like if he has tabs, it sounds pretty good. But you know, I would go out there with all your friends. But it sounds like a cool thing. And I
Not
think,
by myself.
Yeah. No, it sounds like a cool thing though. I'm sure like having a boat would be fucking sweet. Would you guys go fishing and stuff? I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd go fishing and we just chill on it. I mean, just do boat things on it.
Yeah, no, dude, that would be sweet. I don't know. I don't know. You're talking about, what did you say? It's either a rabbit hole or a manly impulse. Is that what you said?
Exact. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's either. I don't know. Some people, you could use the rabbit hole thing, like, oh, take the rabbit hole, and that could be the same thing as like how people say YOLO and stuff. But that's not really what we mean. Like, you always have to assess the situation before, but you don't need. I think you need to know less than you think. I don't know. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, yeah. I feel like that's another interesting topic. Is like, when is something you do choosing a rabbit hole, and when is it just like an impulsive decision? It's like, what's the fine line of the rabbit hole? I
think
like
a good rabbit hole, you know, when you're getting rid of other excuses. You know, when it's not the first thing that comes to your mind. When like you're kind of, I don't know. Like I feel like there are always 2 or 3 excuses that would come up before following a rabbit hole that are like not, they're just excuses. They're kind of like rationalizations as to why you shouldn't do it. But if your first instinct is like, oh, I don't know, I feel like you could make a rationalization like, I have to follow this rabbit hole, when really you might have more sinister impulses behind it, you know?
Yeah, so it's got to be like an honest thought in the background.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, let's say, like, okay, so I have trouble with drinking. Like, I can't drink alcohol. Like, I get, it makes me feel physically sick and also just mentally fucks me up. Like, I can't, not like in the same, like, oh, like, it's supposed to happen. But, like, no, it's, like, I get kind of depressed and stuff, so I don't do it, right? But if it was one night and someone offered me a drink and I was like, oh, I gotta take this rabbit hole, you know, really I would know that, like, I have a weakness for alcohol. And instead I just said, like, oh, I'm gonna take a rabbit hole. So, like, for the most part, like, I don't know, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
It's like falling into a temptation and calling it a rabbit hole.
Exactly. When in fact you almost do the other way around. Kind of like, stop making excuses and follow the rabbit hole instead of use the rabbit hole as an excuse.
Yeah.
For doing something. Yeah, I see that. And speaking of the ultimate rabbit hole, I talked to you a bit about this, but I didn't really talk about it on the show at all, is my aspiration to get a boat and sail around the world. So,
oh my god, that sounds great. Sounds dangerous.
Would you ever be interested in doing something like that?
Dude, 100%. 100%. I would love to do that. I don't know shit about sailing, but I would be... What?
Don't even worry about it, because you should start watching some YouTube videos on this, because I was just... This guy, literally, on his YouTube video, said he's from Norway, knew nothing about sailing. All he did was sail for 2 weeks before actually starting to go around the world. And he just sailed 2 weeks with a friend of his on this boat, and then he just crossed the Atlantic. And basically started learning as he went on, to the point where he got really good. Dude,
I'm sorry, he traversed the Atlantic? Like in New York
Yeah.
to wherever.
Yeah, he went from Norway to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil.
Along the coast, or like I would feel very uncomfortable being out in like the middle of the abyss, you know?
Yeah, well, if you're
In
gonna
a
go sail
sailboat?
around the world, there's a lot of people that do it, and if you're gonna sail around the world, I mean, it's a lot of people just sail across the ocean. You just
No,
need to
you
have
can't.
The right
Can you
gear.
do that?
Yeah, plenty of people do it. You just got to have the right trade winds. I mean, freaking Christopher Columbus did it in a 400-year-old wooden boat.
Yeah, dude, so many
The
people died.
Yeah, but Christopher didn't. Like, it's definitely doable. And today, with like the technology we have, it's relatively safe if you plan it out right. Like, if you look at the weather forecast and predict the winds. And so there's this kind of like a bit of like a small revolution of this group of like younger people that just want to start sailing around the world and traveling that way, like experiencing new things. So, like, what I was thinking was in 5 or 6 years' time, however long it takes, after me and some friends save up money, is just to get. I've been looking at boats actually, and there's a reasonably priced. You can get like a 70-foot boat that fits 10 people for just over $100,000. That is capable of like sailing across an ocean. And
$100,000. Yeah, okay.
So if you have 10 people, that's like $10,000 each, basically. And I feel like saving up $10,000, and then like once you get
and some.
Yeah, and then some for like living expenses and stuff like that. It's a completely doable thing. Like it's not even outrageous.
Yeah, I would feel. I was thinking. Yeah, I was thinking about a smaller boat, but yeah, I mean that'd be pretty cool. That'd be.
Yeah. So I'm starting a bit of this thing with. We want to kind of do something too with it. Like, we don't just want to sail around the world for kicks, as fun as that would be, but we want to try to like start incorporating something, like some sort of I don't know, like film, documentary, or some way to interact with local cultures.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. You should try. I remember watching a documentary a while ago about these kids. They were college soccer players, and then they ended up. It was a boyfriend and girlfriend, I think, or brother and sister or something, and they ended up going around the world playing soccer with people. I don't even, in jails and prisons or something like that. I don't even know. But basically, what they did is they just asked people for money, like to support their project. So I mean, there's Kickstarter now, but you could probably get a grant from people or something. I'm sure maybe you could go online and get someone to fundraise to help you out, or help us out. Oh, dude, that would be crazy.
So. If you'd like to, I'm going to extend you my formal invitation to join the possibility of this over the podcast.
You know what's weird? I know that's like a really far out thing, far out in time, far out in size, you know. But I actually feel like pretty honored to be invited on this trip. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, you do. That's good because right now it's me. My friend, my roommate right now.
Yeah.
Then we have my other friend who's at the Peace Corps right now. And his brother, who you know very well.
What?
That's over. Well, I can't use actual names on the show, but I will.
All right, you can let me know later.
Exactly. And so we're actually like very like fairly serious about this, and I'm sure not everyone's going to stay in it, right? Like, some people will eventually drop out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think it would be the ultimate rabbit hole in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it would lead to a lot of rabbit holes.
Because it could. There's just so much potential from it. Like, you can basically make anything you want out of it, and I think it would be the perfect thing to break the daily routine of life that you kind of find yourself stuck into. Because I don't know about you, but as I've gotten back here to school, I've found it even harder to break out like of a daily routine, especially with soccer and all of that stuff. It's like you're actually almost physically stuck to it, and there's only so much you can do to go outside of it. Yeah,
no, it's hard. I think for me, what I try to do, like I don't want to just shirk off what I'm doing, you know. Like, so I get there early to do things, generally, and like stay late to get treatment and stuff. But I'll like bring a book. And like books are a form of rabbit holes, and just like read while I have time. But yeah, it is hard. It's consuming, but you just do it. Like, I mean, it's not year round, so it's like 2 months, 3 months, and then you kind of gotta get off it. But it is frustrating when, like, I wanted to go somewhere today and find a meditation cushion, and I just fell asleep instead because I was so tired from the weekend. So it's hard. But I mean, there are other ways. Like, I bought the record player, and that was online, which was cool. Like, and that just showed up on my door, and that's a rabbit hole right there. So I think you can always stick with it. But it is restricting, definitely, the circumstances. But
remind me later to tell you about meditation cushions, because I have the perfect ones that you can order online.
Oh, really? How expensive are they?
I'm not sure exactly. My mother was in touch with this one guy, and they come of every different color, and they're kind of like a little beanie. So they kind of got almost like little stuff in that, and they're like the most comfortable cushion you ever see. So I'll tell you about those later.
Okay, cool.
And it's an essential part to meditation, I believe, because it makes it so much more comfortable and so much easier to use for all of you out there trying to start on meditation. Use a meditation cushion.
Yeah. And also, for people starting in meditation, I highly recommend doing the course that I did. I think it's important to, like, have someone teach you or have a kind of teacher to guide you through it. I think it's really helpful.
It builds a good, solid foundation which you yourself can build on. So do you have any tips for breaking this daily routine? Maybe for other than books, for the college athlete, so to call it.
All right, I accidentally stopped my recording, but Madfish asked me if I had any tips for getting out of the routine when you're at school, and so I started with this story. I'll just tell it again, like I told it. I was sitting in my class. It was a lecture class, and a kid next to me had one of those tablet things, the keyboard, and so it's hard not to look at people's screens. It's just that they just draw your eye to it. So I look at his screen, and he's on Facebook, and he's stalking this guy. Thinking, all right, this is kind of weird. So then I look up, I'm listening to teacher, and I look back down, and he's stalking the guy on Google. And I'm like, all right, that's even weirder. He's just vetting this kid on Facebook. And in my class, we all have nameplates, and so the teacher can just call on us without asking us what our name is every time. And so I'm looking around, and this kid raises his hand, and he starts talking. I look at his nameplate. He's sitting about 5 people away from me and this other kid. And it says, and he ended up being the guy that the guy was vetting. And I just thought it was the weirdest thing. One, it was just creepy. But the second thing is that, like, he was in class, but he was somewhere else. He wasn't even there. He was just like half there, half not. So I was thinking, like, if you want to get out of your routine, then you got to, like, do your routine to the fullest. Do it as efficiently as possible, and then you have more free time to actually be free. So then when you're free, you're not thinking, oh, I didn't pay attention, I have to go study, or you're not all worried and stuff, and you're, like, used to doing things full on. Just devote your attention to that one thing and get it done. Do your work, do what you need to do. One person once advised me, do homework for 2 hours a night. Just devote your time for 2 hours of homework, or 1 hour, whatever number it is. And know that at the end of that 2 hours, you're stopping. But just do that 2 hours. Just be focused on it for 2 hours, and then do whatever you want afterwards. And I think if everyone did that, you think, like, oh, only 2 hours? I wouldn't be able to do it. But a lot of nights I don't do homework because I don't have it due that day. But if I did 2 hours of homework a night, I would be ahead. And if I focused that entire time, like, I have this freedom app, which I don't... I mean, it's kind of contradicts what we said earlier about forcing yourself, but...
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
I don't know what the freedom app is.
It's like the Freedom app is an application you get for your computer. You pay $10, and you can set it up to eliminate your internet for however long you want it to. So you can't get on the internet and anything connected to the internet unless you restart your computer. So it locks you out. So you could get something like that. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to get out of the routine, you got to just do the routine as efficiently as possible, so then you actually have free time, and when you're in that free time, you can be devoted to that free time and do things that you want to do. Alright, I think that's... Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're at the end, dude.
Oh, we are? Oh, well, perfect.
We're at the end. I think this worked well. I hope the overlay works.
It did, yeah. And I mean, to end on a final note, I think that, like what you were saying, every class you attend can be a new rabbit hole if you actually pay attention to it. Because I bet you, if you actually look at the amount of class time the average college student actually pays, like listening attentively to what is going on, it wouldn't be absurdly high, especially for the average one.
Yeah, and I know teachers are a great resource. Like they, like not because of the material that they're teaching you just in the class, but just like they're experienced people, and they're smart people. They go up to them, talk to them. I'm sure they have tons of stories. The people in your class are smart too. Like, I don't know. I think you can. I was just talking to my friend about this, but you can take school as like a place where you need to get a grade and you need to get a diploma, or you can take it as a place where you're around really smart people, really smart teachers, all these different things. Like, you're in an environment, you can take advantage of different things. It doesn't have to weigh you down. So that's my 2 cents.
Exactly.
All right,
it's what you make of it. All right.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Dude, I think it worked well. It was a little weird. It's weird not being like next to you physically. I think I think it would be more conducive, but I think it works out.
Exactly, and I'm sure we will also get better at the long distance rabbit holing as time goes by. Yeah, this was Mad Fish right here,
and this is Joker.
Have a good night.
See ya.
Or day. Bye.
Curiosity often leads to trouble.